Hi, my name is Sarah Allred. I'm the horticulture coordinator here at Ashton Gardens at Thanksgiving Point. You'll usually find me out in the gardens with our garden volunteers, but today I'm going to teach you 5 handy tips to create an amazing container. Why containers? Containers are a great resource or option if you don't have a lot of space. Maybe you only have a little back patio or a front porch, and so you don't have a big, huge garden. Another great reason is if you have a huge garden but you don't have the budget or the time or even the physical capabilities to do a huge garden, a container can be a great solution. Another great thing about containers is you can move them around. So maybe you're having a big party and you want to move some flowers to a great place. You can't dig up your garden, but you can move a container. Tip number 1 is light. You need to assess the kind of light that your area receives. If you try and plant some sun-loving plants in the shade, you will be very disappointed. So it's important to look around your space and decide if you have sun, shade, part shade, and then when you head to the garden center, you can find the correct plants. We have some great examples of plants here. These are some great sun plants. We've got this Calibrachoa that trails off the side of your pot, or geraniums, which are always a great choice. They love the sun. But then some shade plants would be this Bacopa that trails off the side as well, and some impatiens. So head to your nearest garden center or come in here and we can help you find the right plants for the right light conditions. Tip number 2 is water. It's really important to think about how you're going to get water to this amazing container that you've planted. You need to make sure your hose can get out there or that you're willing to carry a big heavy watering can to water. You also need to think about how often you want to water. Are you the type of person that wants to go out every day and water for an hour? I like doing that, but not everybody does. Maybe you just want to water once or twice a week. So take that into consideration when you're choosing the plants for your container. It's also important to remember that when you water your plants, you will find that your container will probably leak somewhere. And so if you're worried about your brand new deck that you don't want to get wet, make sure your container has a tray or a saucer underneath it so that it can catch that water and you won't have a lot of damage. Tip number 3 is soil. It's really important to get the right kind of soil in your container. I think the biggest mistake that people make is they dig up some soil from their backyard and stick it in their container. But it's important to have a good potting soil that allows your roots and your plant to have the space they need to grow. In a container, your roots can only go as far as the container will allow. Out in the gardens, the roots can go through the soil and find the water and the nutrients that they need. And so it's really important to have the right kind of soil to let your roots have the best kind of growth. You can see 2 kinds of soil here. This is potting soil, really great potting soil, and it's light and fluffy. It has different particles inside that allow for more space in the soil for the roots to grow in. This soil from the garden is really rocky, really dense. It's actually really heavy. And so if you put this one in your pot, you won't have a great experience growing container plants. Another mistake that people make is when they have a very large container, they fill the entire container full of soil. When that soil gets wet, it will be impossible to move. So a great tip is to fill the bottom third of that container with another kind of material. You can use empty aluminum cans. You can use the containers that you buy the plants in after you empty out the soil. You can use packing peanuts, and that way it won't be as heavy when you fill it with the soil, and you'll be able to move that pot wherever you want. Tip number 4 is choosing your container. There are so many different kinds of containers, different colors, different materials. It can be really exciting to choose a container. One thing that's very important to remember is that you will need some kind of drainage. And so as you look for containers, look for things that have a type of drainage. This particular container does not have drainage. You can see there aren't any holes in the bottom. If you get this kind of a container, the water will just pool down here and sit there and the roots can die. So it's really important to add either rocks or pebbles on the bottom inch or inch and a half to give the water some space to leave where it won't hurt the roots. If you do find a container that has drainage holes like this, it's important to remember that you need some kind of a saucer to catch that water. So make sure you find something that can contain that water. Tip number 5 is planning and planting your container. There's a lot of different ways that you can plant your container, but I have a little tip that I picked up a while ago that has helped me. It's called thriller, spiller, filler. 3 easy words that rhyme, it makes it easy to remember. Thriller is your tall plant, something that's interesting. This is papyrus, very interesting. You're going to pick that tall plant, you want to put it in the center of your pot or maybe towards the back, and that will give great interest to your container. The next one is the spiller. These are the kind of plants that cascade and hang down the side of your pot. This is sweet potato vine. It's a great plant, it grows really fast, and it has that bright green color. The next thing you need to do are the fillers, and those can be all sorts of different things. We have some fun fillers here. These are English daisies. Everybody loves these. They're hard to find, but they grow great in this cold early spring weather. And then we have some rock cress, which is another great plant that you can stick inside your little rock garden or in containers. But as you can see, that'll fill up the pot. Now this pot is kind of small and these plants will fill it up really fast. Sometimes you need to remember to leave a little bit of space for your plants to grow. But it's okay if it gets too crowded. There is nothing wrong if you need to pull some of the plants out. But remember that concept, thriller, spiller, filler. Something else that's really fun to consider is texture. You want to add things of interest. So these are a couple great examples. This is euphorbia. You can see that it's really lacy and light. It adds a totally different feel when you put that in this kind of a container. Or another great alternative is this kind of grass, fiber optic grass. It gets these really fun little seed heads on the top that look like those fiber optic cables, and that adds a lot of interest to your container. Another really fun thing to do is find something with some great foliage. This begonia won't actually get a flower, but it has these amazing leaves that are interesting colors, really fun texture, kind of fuzzy, and you can see that it just adds a lot of excitement to your container. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you'll find these tips useful when you plant your container garden. If you have any questions, please leave that in the comment section and be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check back for some more great gardening videos. We'll see you next time.